So, how are you mga katry? Fine Saturday morning. I hope you're doing well and are you ready for today's episode of Try to Edit? We'll be going back to basics. We'll be discussing something that's very close to the very roots, foundation of photography and videography. And of course, as always, we'll be having a friend over to discuss something that's really practical and really valuable. But of course, perhaps you saw me earlier get the Dutch Mill yogurt drink. It's not really cutting it for me. I really need my fix of this. So welcome back mga katry, and as I have said earlier, we will be going back to basics and we'll be talking about the exposure triangle. Now this is very important because really this is a fundamental that needs to be mastered by anyone from newbies to experts in the field. This is something that will not go away and will really have an effect on the way that you shoot your photos and shoot your videos. So understanding this very early on is really something that you would like to establish yourself in, really mastering. The more time you put in will really determine how far you'll go with your photography and videography career. Now, if you notice, with the introduction of entry-level DSLRs, there's a lot of people who really jumped into the bandwagon and they just started buying all these SLRs, and then everybody seems to have one around their neck, especially when they're going out to their vacations and their trips. Then who wouldn't? Because it really feels really good to have that DSLR in your hand and you shoot with it. But of course, many of these people would use that SLR only on automatic mode. This is not inherently bad, but this, well, it does feel good owning that SLR and just shooting away and using that automatic setting. There's a particular satisfaction when it comes to operating your digital SLR, especially if you're looking forward to becoming a professional in this particular field, to be able to use that manual mode. Mastering that manual mode really separates the professional from the beginner. So this is something that we really would like to go into. But don't worry, this show is designed really to help out new ones in the industry, in the field. If you want to be an advanced enthusiast or you want to become professional, this show will empower you, will enable you to master that manual mode as well. But where do we begin? Now, the core of photography, put in simplest terms, is all about the control and capture of light. Now, light passing through your camera is being affected by three important elements. First one is shutter speed. Second one is the aperture. The third one is ISO. Let's start with shutter speed. Shutter speed can be crudely defined as the amount or the length of time in where your camera shutter is open to let light in. The slower the shutter speed, the more light comes in. The faster the shutter speed, the less light comes in. Now, shutter speed also has an effect on your camera's ability to capture motion. For example, if you want to freeze a particular action, then it would require a faster shutter speed. Because if you use a slower shutter speed, then that would create what we call a motion blur. Now, take for example the blades on this fan. They are really rotating very fast. Now, if I want to take a picture of the individual blades of this fan, I would really need a very fast shutter speed to freeze them in the moment of action. Now, next up is aperture. Aperture is simply the measure of how big the opening in your lens, in your camera lens is. Usually this is measured in f-stops or f-values. This is represented by an F and then a number follows in. The smaller the number means the larger the hole, or larger the opening. The larger the opening, the more light comes in through the lens towards your camera's image sensor. I'm currently holding up a Helios 44-3 vintage lens. This lens has a manual aperture control on the lens itself, so we can easily demonstrate the opening and closing, and opening of the aperture. So this particular aperture is almost fully closed. This is at f16 on this particular lens, because the larger the number, the smaller the opening when it comes to aperture. And this one will be the lowest f value on this lens, which is f2. How does aperture affect your images? With a lower f-stop value, there is more light coming into your lens and into your camera, which makes for a blurry background, which is a favorite of those who shoot portraits. But with a higher f-stop value, which means there's a smaller opening, less light would come in, it puts more of what's in frame into focus, which is actually a lot better for those who shoot architecture or landscape. Third is ISO or ISO. Now ISO can be loosely described as the sensitivity of your image sensor. The lower the ISO value, the less sensitive your sensor is, the more light it requires to register an image. But with higher ISO values or higher ISO values, less light is required to register an image. Now on low light conditions, you might need to pump up your ISO a little bit higher to register an image. But pumping the ISO too much can also be bad for the image, as it creates more noise in your pictures. Was that a lot of information to take in? Well, let's try to have a quick recap of what we have discussed. Now, shutter speed, this is the amount of time in where light is being let in inside your camera. The higher or the faster the shutter speed, the less light will come in, and the slower the shutter speed, the more light will come in. The faster the shutter speed, it can freeze actions or motions in your shots, and the slower the shutter speed, it will create what we call motion blur. Aperture is the opening in your lens that lets light in. The smaller the value of the aperture, the larger the opening, the more light comes in. The higher the value, the smaller the opening is, and less light will come in. And ISO is simply the sensitivity of your image sensor. The lower the ISO, the more light it requires to register an image, and the higher the ISO, the less light it requires to register an image, but with a slight trade-off, you will be getting more noise in your shots. Now here's a quick demonstration on how we can balance all these three things so that you'll come up with a properly exposed image, a well-lit image like this when you are taking videos, or mostly when you are taking photographs. So I have my camera hooked up to my laptop right now where I can change my settings. My current camera settings is my shutter speed is at 1/50th of a second. My aperture is at f4, and I am currently at ISO 500. Now, if you notice, I have a blurry background with these particular settings. Now, what if I would like to have my background a little bit sharper? Now, what I can do is actually pump up the f value, because this will lessen the light coming into the sensor, but will also offer me a larger area of focus for the camera. So watch as I crank up the aperture to 7.1. Now, can you see the difference? My background is a little bit more focused now. The details are sharper, but generally, since I only tweak the settings for the aperture, my image now is a lot darker. So what can I do to balance it? Well, I can either tweak the ISO, or I can tweak the shutter speed as well. But since I am taking a video, I do not want to move my shutter speed in this particular instance, because it will affect my recording. But what I can do is I can actually pump up my ISO. Let's see if I crank it up to ISO 800. Now, image is brighter. I still have the details of the focus on my background. What if I crank it up a little bit to ISO 1250? There we go. What if I really want to put the things behind me into really sharp focus? Well, I can go as far as f9, or maybe even further at f13. You see, they're a lot more focused now, but generally my image is a lot darker. What I can do is pump up my ISO to 3200, and there you go. I have a well-lit image, sharp background, sharp subject as well. Now that's it for our quick demonstration, but let's be realistic. The best way for you to actually get all of this and master all this is for you to get your camera, take it out for an adventure, and try to make a feel of this on your own. Tweak the settings, change your aperture value, change your shutter speed, change your ISO, just to see how it goes and how it affects your images. Of course, the more time you put in and the more time you practice with your manual mode on your camera, the better you will get it, and the faster you'll be able to master the manual mode on your camera. Here's a pro tip. When you're looking through your viewfinder or when you are looking at your camera's LCD, try to look for this particular meter. Now this meter can actually tell you if you're going to have a properly exposed image. So how do you use it? Well, you pick up your camera, point it at your subject, half press the shutter button as if auto-focusing on your subject. This actually activates the meter as well. Now with your current shutter speed, your current aperture value, and your current ISO level, it now measures the amount of light that comes in through your camera, and it tells you if you are going to have a properly exposed image. And the secret, keeping it at 0. If you look at the meter and you change all the settings for either the shutter speed, the aperture, or the ISO, try keeping it at the middle. That would most likely give you a properly exposed image. Now, I'm not so familiar with other camera systems, but on a Canon camera system, if the indicator is on the far right of the 0, it means that it is overexposed. Too much light is coming in. And if it's on the left of 0, the indicator is on the left of 0, it means there is too little light coming in, and the image will tend to be a lot darker. Might be different from your camera, but the key here is try practicing tweaking all those settings and keeping it at the middle for proper exposure. Now of course, as you practice more, you put in more time getting to know the manual settings of your camera, in the long run, you'll find it easier for you to produce properly exposed photographs or videos for that matter. But of course, I understand it could be very frustrating, taking a lot of pictures and then finding out that you only have 1 or 2 that you think is okay. But don't delete those pictures just yet, because there might be just a way to save them. And this would be the topic for our guest for this morning, Mr. Lloyd Santiago from Studio Santi and Jewel Gibbs will be discussing to us the importance or the advantage of shooting in RAW versus shooting in JPEG. And of course, he will also be showing to us his workflow when editing RAW pictures and what can you achieve if you do the same. So let's watch this video.
Magandang umaga mga ka-Try PH. Katulad nung nasabi ni Sir JM, ngayon ay i-differentiate natin ano ba yung pinagkaiba ng JPEG at ng RAW, and at the end of this video, papakita natin yung isang basic sample edit na pwede po ninyong ma-achieve kapag gumamit po tayo ng RAW. So basically, ini-endorse po natin yung paggamit ng RAW kasi yun yung hindi masyadong nagagawa ng mga beginner na nagsusubok into the field of photography. Ang JPEG at ang RAW po ay dalawang magkaibang file types. Although pareho po silang photos, magkaiba po sila na file type. Just like JPEG and PNG, JPEG and GIF, ganun din po ang JPEG and RAW. The second difference po is the size. Ang size po ng RAW pwedeng umabot sa up to 2 times to 4 times ng isang JPEG. Matatanong nyo, bakit kaya ganun kalaki yung diferensya nilang dalawa? Kasi po, doon napapasok yung pangatlong difference between JPEG and RAW. Ang RAW po kasi, mas madami siyang details na nailalaman sa isang file compared sa JPEG. Ano-ano ba yung mga details na yon? Halimbawa, ang RAW po ay nakakapag-store ng 12-bit of color information, samantalang ang JPEG is 8-bit. Pwede tayong makapagpalabas ng mas madaming kulay using RAW photos instead of JPEG. Mas madami po o magiging mas maganda yung color representation kapag po RAW yung ginamit natin instead of JPEG. Ano pa yung mga details na nakukuha ng RAW na hindi nakukuha ng JPEG? Yun pong tonal details. Kapag po RAW ang ginamit niyo, there's a better chance na mas madami kayong mariretrieve na details sa photo ninyo kapag inedit po ninyo kumpara kapag JPEG po ang ginamit ninyo. Sa mga ibang cases po, pwedeng makapagpasok ng lens data o lens information sa RAW. Isa pa na details na pwedeng pumasok sa RAW. Pwede po tayong mag-store ng user information ng iba pang klaseng metadata para po mas iwas nakaw yung inyong photos. Madami palang benefits ang RAW above JPEG or versus JPEG. E di, wag na tayong mag-shoot ng JPEG altogether. Lagi na lang tayong mag-shoot ng RAW. Sa professional photography field po, advisable po talaga na mag-shoot na lang in RAW. Pero may mga pagkakataon po kasi na talaga mag-shoot po tayo ng JPEG. Ilang mga halimbawa po niyan. Kapag ka po tayo ay maliit lang yung ating storage, ilan pang mga halimbawa, kapag po kasi mabilisan yung shot, yung continuous burst, kapag po kasi nag-RAW kayo, medyo matagal po i-write sa memory card yon dahil malaki yung size. So, baka lumagpas na yung subject, hindi nyo po nakunan. So, mas maganda na yun pong file natin ay naka-JPEG na large para mas mabilis siyang ma-write. Ina-advise po namin ulit, kung pwede naman, shoot in RAW po tayo lagi. Wala pong masama, magiging maganda pa yung output niyo once na matuto kayong mag-edit. So, ngayon, alam nyo na po yun, maganda na magkaroon tayo ng sample para makita ninyo kung paano po ba nag-e-edit ng isang RAW photo at ano ba yung benefit na makukuha ninyo kapag kayo po ay nag-edit using RAW. So ngayon po gagamit tayo ng isang app named Adobe Photoshop Lightroom. Gagamitin po natin ito sa pagpo-post process o sa layman's term pag-e-edit ng ating RAW. So sa library po, pwede nyong gawin na lang is open nyo yung folder nung inyong i-edit and then drag. Kung titignan po ninyo yung file name ng ating photo, hindi po RAW ang nakalagay, kundi CR2. Ito po kasi ay shinot gamit ang isang Canon camera. Pasok na natin to dun sa ating post-processing. Import, pindutin nyo lang po itong import. Yan, import na siya. Yan, makita nyo, dito na po siya sa ating library. Buksan natin yung ating photo sa develop module. Yan. So, may before, after. Mamaya po, makikita natin kung paano magiging diferensya niyang ating inedit na photo. Ayan. So, nakita po ninyo dito sa ating photo ngayon, mga katry, mayroon pong kubo, nasa gitna siya ng fish pond, tapos, yung sky niya puti lang. Pero ang background po nitong photo na ito, mga katry, ito po ay isang eksena ng sunset. So kapag sunset, alam po natin, yan ay makulay. Either full of yellows, pinks, violets. Pero kung titignan po natin dito, ganyan siya puti. Bakit ganyan? Kasi po, although yung information ng kulay ay nandyan sa loob ng ating RAW file, hindi pa po siya nare-render. Hindi pa po siya may re-represent sa screen kasi hindi pa po natin pinapalabas. Hindi pa po natin siya pinoproseso. So, kailangan i-proseso po natin siya para siya ay lumabas. Ang unang-una ko pong ginagawa kapag ako ay nag-edit ng aking photos na may RAW, ay pumunta ako dito sa camera calibration. Sa lens corrections. Sorry mga katry. Lens corrections. Dito po papasok yung sinasabi natin kanina na mahalaga na pumasok yung lens detail doon sa ating RAW file. Bakit? Kasi po kung titignan ninyo, mayroon ditong isang option, enable profile correction. Ibig sabihin po, i-correct ng software yung photo natin into different perspective na mas kaayon ng mata natin, no? Tignan niyo po ninyo kung ano yung mangyayari kapag ka-inedit po natin. Napansin niyo po yung difference mga katry? Yan, no? Pansin niyo yung mga gilid sa may tubig, medyo madilim tapos liliwanag. Natanggal yung vignetting. And then yung gitna, parang nakaumbok po siya, di ba? Parang nakalabas. Pero kapag ka-profile correct nyo po siya, mawawala. Kasi po yung distortion, yung umbok na yon, distortion ng tawag, tinatanggal po ng software yung distortion kapag po tayo ay nag-e-edit. So kapag kamukha yan ng tao, pwedeng mas mapapayat or pwedeng mas mapanipis yung muka kung portrait po kayo. So napakahalaga nitong profile corrections na to. Either sa landscape man yan o sa portrait, mahalaga po yan. So, sa RAW nyo lang po magagawa yan. Sa JPEG, limited po yung options natin kapag po ginawa nyo yung profile correction. Hindi po lahat ng lente ay nababasa o nai-store information kapag nasa JPEG. So, ngayon na-correct na natin siya. Tingnan po natin ano yung magagawa natin para malagyan ng details yung ating photo. Titingnan ninyo, meron po ditong exposure, tapos mayroong 4 dito, contrast. Exposure po ibig sabihin yung amount of light sa ating camera, sa ating photo. Tapos ito naman, kumbaga yung subdivisions ng light. Highlights, pinakamaliwanag, shadows, pinakamadilim, whites, yung mid-tier na maliwanag, tapos blacks, the opposite. Tignan nyo po kung anong mangyayari kapag ka-inedit ko yung highlights. Pansinin nyo pong mabuti, panoorin nyo pong mabuti itong part ng langit. Ano kaya mangyayari pag inedit natin yung highlights? So, isasagad ko po sa negative 100, ibig sabihin, didiliman po natin. May napansin po kayo? Nagkaroon ng details ng ulap, ano? So, bawasan pa natin yung exposure para mas mapalabas yung details ng ulap. And there you go. Ang laking diferensya po kanina nung walang details yung langit sa may details yung langit. Mas gumanda yung ating photos. Kaya lang, ang worry naman po natin siguro ngayon mga katry, paano naman yung kubo? Yung kubo yung subject kaso dumilim. So, dyan po papasok yung ating shadows. Kapag po kayo ay RAW, dahil mas madaming details yung ating subject, yung ating photo, kahit po ibatakin nyo tong shadow, may mapapalabas po siya. Batak means paliwanagin or padilimin accordingly. Kahit po yan ay i-adjust nyo ng mas maliwanag, mapapalabas po nyo yung tamang details, hindi po siya mawawalan ng detalye. Pansinin nyo. Yan, napaliwanag natin siya konti. Gawin natin siya 100. See? Parang kanina lang nung hindi pa natin siya dinidiliman. So nagkaroon ng details yung ulap, nagkaroon ng details yung kubo, yung mesh nung ating walls nagkaroon ng details. So, lagyan pa natin ng konting adjustments. Negative 50 sa whites. And then, blacks is gawin natin plus 25 para lang mas mapalitaw. And then, there you go. Mas madaming details. Kaya lang po, pwede natin sabihin, baka yung contrast naman nawala kasi nag-adjust tayo ng shadows. Difference between dark and light, nawala masyado. So, dagdagan natin ng konti yung contrast. See? Ang dami na agad na dagdag na details. Pero hindi pa po tayo tapos. Sabi natin kanina, sunset yan. So, dapat kulay sunset po ang lalabas dyan. Tingnan natin dito sa temperature. Ito po yung white balance natin. Kung madilaw ba siya o maputi, ma-blue. Pag tinaasan po natin yan, papunta sa madilaw. So, gawin nating mas mataas yung number niya para mas mukhang yellowish dahil nga sunset ito. From 5,200, gawin po natin siyang 7,000. Masyadong madilaw, gawin natin 6,000 lang para may 6,500. Yan. So nakita natin, no, medyo mas nagmukhang sunset na siya lalo compared sa kanina. Pero pag sunsets po, nilalagyan natin yan ng medyo pink dahil ganun ang liwanag kapag sunset. So try natin lagyan ng plus 20 sa tint. Ayan po, mas mukhang sunset na po ba compared dun sa shot natin kanina? Dagdagan lang natin siya ng konting clarity para pa sa dagdag na details. And then lagyan natin ng konting saturation. And then there you go. Mas malaki po ang pagkakaiba niya kumpara sa image natin kanina. Kanina po, di ba, nakita nyo wala halos detalye yung langit, tapos very bland, napakaputla ng ating picture. Ngayon, malaki na yung difference na nagawa natin kumpara sa kanina. Gusto nyo po bang makita yung difference ng hilaw na raw kaysa dun sa naprosesong raw? So, papakita ko na sa inyo, katulad kanina mayroong before and after. Napakalaki po ng difference, night and day. So, doon pa lang sa langit, katulad nung kanina ko pa sinasabi, nagka-details yung ulap. Doon pa lang sa kulay, napapop natin ng husto yung kulay ng kawayan, yung kulay ng kubo, yung kulay ng sunset. Basic pa lang, using RAW, mas respectable na yung output na nakuha natin. So that's for our session today mga katry. Sana po madami kayong natutunan with the difference between RAW and JPEG. How to edit, or when to use RAW, when to use JPEG, how to edit RAW photos, and how to get good output using post-processing tools na pwede po ninyong maipagmalaki sa inyong mga social media pages as well as sa inyong mga friends bilang kayo ay nagsisimulang mag-photography. Again, this is your friend Lloyd Santiago from Valenzuela City. Owner po ako ng Giwil Gives, ng Studio Santi, and ng Iridescent Digital. You can check my pages on Facebook. Makita kayo ng ibang mga edits ko pa doon. And this is me again, Lloyd Santiago for TryPH, and Sir JM, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Lloyd, for giving us that wonderful tutorial and also for informing us the advantages of shooting in RAW, especially if you're looking into editing those pictures afterwards. And that would actually be a practical advice. If you are practicing your shots in manual mode, well, it might be a good idea for you to shoot in RAW so that you can still salvage those pictures and edit them in Lightroom afterwards. Now, if you are interested to contact Sir Lloyd Santiago, we are going to flash the details of his studio, Studio Santi, and of course his Facebook page, Jewel Gives. He is offering services in editing your photos and editing your videos as well. You might want to avail of his services. We're going to flash his details. Now again, Sir Lloyd, thank you so much for sharing that wonderful and practical information that we all can learn. Now mga ka-try, if you have noticed, during the past few episodes of Try to Edit, we were able to discuss the core fundamentals of photography and videography. These are things that you need to learn right away so that it can enhance your photography or your videography game. Now, as we've discussed last week, the third thing that we really need to pay attention to would be getting to know your editing software, because it could really enhance your videography game. And that is something that we would like to look forward to in the next episode of Try to Edit. We'll be considering the top 3 editing softwares that is being used in the industry. We'll be balancing their pros and cons, and I'll be sharing my choice of video editing software as well, and I will be sharing why I really like this particular editing software. And of course, we will also go into the basic functions that is common across all of these editing softwares, because being familiar with the basic functions of an editing software will actually be advantageous for us as well. Would like to take this time to thank you very much for your avid support, not only for Try to Edit but also the other shows in TryPH Media. And we still believe and we still hold on to that advocacy of helping. The more you share our videos, the more people can be reached and the more people that we can help. So thank you so much for your overwhelming support. Please encourage others to follow and like and subscribe, not only on our Facebook page but also on our YouTube channel. Now, before I end the show, I would just like to give thanks again to Sir Lloyd Santiago for giving his valuable time and giving us that wonderful tutorial. And of course, we'd like to give a shout out to the rest of our friends as well. Sir Alfred Rimos, Sir Mark Daniel Saulo, Tito Choi De Silva, Jessica Gavino, Jaresa Felipe, and Ate Beck Basina. Thank you so much for all your support as well, and for helping us on the show. And a special shout out to Jezreel Matawaran. Bro, thank you so much for all your support in our graphics. Did you also notice that I have a new background music? That's thanks to our music producer, Sir Gabriel Robles. Thank you so much for your hard work in producing all of the original background music for all of the shows in TriPH Media, including the live shows. This has been JM. We'll see you again next Saturday, 10 a.m. Try to edit.